What is up, everybody, and happy Monday to you. Monday Night Football is here. We're 33 minutes away from kickoff, and we're going to sit here and answer your questions for you up until then. Joined on Mondays, usually by Mr. Squirrel Patrol, who's in the house here. And Squirrel, how's your Monday treating you so far?
Good. Good Monday. My daughter's off school. It's like a teacher work day. They got a bunch of them.
Interesting.
Yeah, so she's like second grade, but had the second grade parent teacher conference today. So everything's going well. For all of the relatives listening. Daughter's doing well in school. So
I get my kids get tomorrow off, a Tuesday. It's that random Tuesday every year for election day or something like that, and so it's weird. If it's not a day off on a Friday or a Monday, it's just weird, and it's a Tuesday off. So we got that to look forward to. But we're here for you guys, so get up in there and ask whatever questions you want pertaining to tonight's Monday Night Football, pertaining to building lineups, lineup HQ. The Sims, you can get us and ask us questions about that. We'll do our best to answer that. Doesn't even have to be football. It could be basketball. It could be baseball. It could be life. I don't care. Ask some questions because that's what we're here for, man. We're not here to, just waffle around and go through the same plays that you've read about all day long. So try to do something different. Before we do get started on this, though, I do have a question for you, Squirrel. It was asked to me earlier if I would please ask you this. All right. Are you ready for this one?
I think so.
Why do they call you Squirrel Patrol?
Oh, yeah, that's a simple one. It's actually not named after squirrels. It's named after my dogs. When I, about 15 years ago, I guess about 10 years ago, signing up for FanDuel, DraftKings type sites, and my wife was like walking the dogs, and we had like 110-pound hound dog and border collies, who's now still 14 years old, and it was about 165 pounds of dog, and they'd tear off whenever they saw a squirrel. She'd be like, "Easy there, Squirrel Patrol." And I'm like signing up for these like sites and like, it's Squirrel Patrol, and like had no idea that 10 years later I'd be telling the story on the pre-lock show.
Okay, that answers it then. I don't even have to go into the second part about chasing squirrels or whatever. So we could just forget about all that. Yeah, that answers it. That does it. All right, so we got that out of the way. Let's talk about a little football real quick. All right, going to glance at the inactives here because that's an important part of our show. We get that, and we get to give it to you. The Chargers. Okay, this whole inactive thing right here tonight seems like it's right up your alley, man. This is like tailor-made for you. So for the Chargers, Isaiah Spiller's out. Like, if this was Sunday, nobody would even notice anything about any of these guys, like none of this stuff, right? But it's Showdown. So every little thing matters, and it just tweaks things just a little bit, enough to move the needle. So Isaiah Spiller's out on one side. That kind of does something there. And then for the Jets, Randall Cobb is inactive. He's been their starting slot guy more or less. And so those could be moves right there that you can use to your advantage if it works out in the Showdown. What do you think about those inactives? Do they do anything for you?
Yeah, actually, in my my 150 build, I think I had one Isaiah Spiller and 20-something Randall Cobb. But I do think that Randall Cobb, I think, is going to become Xavier Gibson. He's the guy that won their week 1 game against the Bills. And maybe somebody's getting a little more involved, especially with Randall Cobb being out. Like, Cobb's kind of a weird fit with Aaron Rodgers not being there, or like not being the starter. So maybe Xavier Gibson's getting some more opportunities. I think they've got like other like 4th and 5th wide receivers. I'm probably going to stick with Gibson as like my lowest guy on the Jets wide receiver totem pole. But you can get a little bit more funky. I think there are some other wide receivers below him. But yeah, probably going to basically be turning my Randall Cobb into Xavier Gibson as we talk.
Randall Cobb being on this team, being in that starting lineup with Aaron Rodgers not being injured, is kind of like if you were a little younger in high school or whatever, and a friend of yours, y'all are going out, and he invites another friend, and then he bails, and all of a sudden you're stuck with the friend that the guy that you don't even know. Right. Like, how did this guy get here, and how do we get rid of him? Because this This is crazy. We didn't invite him. The other guy invited him, but that's where they're stuck at now. But we'll see how that plays out tonight. So you go ahead and get rid of that anytime you feel necessary, and get your lineups changed up, and we'll figure it out. I got some questions here rolling in from Discord, though. Thoughts on 2 Jets running backs tonight? I'll let you answer it, but I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, we're checking the prices. Dalvin's 1,400. I think you can do that. My decision point when it comes to that is like, what is the price of a backup running back? And 1,400, I think, is doable. Sometimes you see it where the starter is maybe 8,000, and the backup it's more of a 1A, 1B type situation, and the 1B is like 4,000 something, 4,800. And I don't necessarily like to do that. Like then it's like they're too expensive to probably both hit on the optimal lineup together, depending on the game scenario we're maybe expecting. I think 1,400 you can do it. I maybe prefer going over on Brees Hall and not having as much Dalvin Cook. But to each their own. I think if you think it's going to be a running game, I think that's plausible. And you can put both of them in there.
Yeah, and then there's a follow-up question to that from the same guy, Mr. David 82165 in Discord. His follow-up questions, he always got some real bangers here, man, about your preferences. Do you prefer pancakes or waffles? Oh,
pancakes, big time. I don't know why. They're softer, I think. I like the softness. I don't like the waffles just too hard.
I would agree with you. I prefer pancakes, and I just prefer. Now waffles are good though. Don't get me wrong. I love breakfast. That's my favorite meal of the day. I love it all, man. But I prefer pancakes over waffles. Although, hey, man, you put a waffle in front of me, I'm gonna eat it too. I like waffles also. But okay. Indy Knoll is 3-3, 3 Chargers, 3 Jets. Is that contrarian enough? It seems like there's going to be a lot of Chargers onslaughts tonight.
I just prefer the idea of getting, I don't always break my lineups down. I very rarely break my lineups down and try to figure out, is it like a 1-5, 3-3, 2-4? I just kind of let nature take its course. And I like this slate. I like the idea of being over the Jets. Like if I have one thesis for tonight's game, I think it's that the Jets are underrated, especially on offense. And I think people are maybe underrating the Jets offense, underrating the Jets defense, like overrating the Chargers offense, and like underrating how bad the Chargers defense has been. I mean, the Chargers offense is fine. Actually, I have nothing bad to say about the Chargers offense. And maybe they do maybe they go into the Jets home stadium, like Meadowlands, and they're just marching up and down the field and making this defense look bad. I don't know if that's going to be the case. Like this is a pretty good defense. Like this is a team that was getting Aaron Rodgers in the offseason because they felt like they had enough parts to be playoff contenders. Now it's Zach Wilson. Like Zach Wilson's had some bad matchups. And so far since he took over as a starter, this is not one of those bad matchups. If he's going to excel, it's going to be at a home game against the worst pass defense in the league. So I like the idea of being over the field on the Jets.
Okay, now some more questions rolling in. First off, we got Maki 222 says Waffle House waffles ain't hard. I went on vacation about 1.5 years ago. I hadn't had Waffle House in a long time, but we did a Waffle House breakfast. Oh man, those waffles were the best waffles I've ever had. So I would agree with that. The Waffle House waffles are the bomb. You ever had a little Waffle House?
I'm not anti-waffle. I just given the choice, waffles and pancakes, probably pancakes. Like throw some butter on there. It just seems like, I don't know. You're spreading the butter more easily on the flat pancake than the grooved waffle, in my opinion. So that probably plays into the preference.
Okay, we figured that. And Mr. Butthole Jenkins is in chat, and of course, yes, we are definitely going to get to the fill it in the plums play of the night later. He says his is Brees Hall. He might have been looking at my video because I did a video on Brees Hall earlier today, but for a couple of reasons. Obviously the guy's he's looking a lot sharper nowadays, coming off that injury. He's really starting to recover. They're starting to feed him. Just a really talented running back. It's weird that running backs don't matter. They don't. I'm not going to draft one in the first round if I'm an NFL executive. I think it was as great as Bijan Robinson could be in his career. it's ludicrous to take him with the number 8 pick in the draft and like all that. But certain guys on the field, while I wouldn't pay them for 5 years of service, I wouldn't pay them top dollar, and I wouldn't take them early in the draft. There is a difference between some guys when they run and when they move out there on the field and what they do for an offense. You know, you just can't deny how valuable Christian McCaffrey is to an offense, like a guy like that. Breece Hall is quickly becoming that kind of a guy. Like when he touches the ball, there's electricity in what he does, man. So, yeah, he's interesting, man. I like him, but there's a lot of good stats to point towards Breece Hall tonight. Like both these defense struggle against pass catching running backs, and so I think they could both have their fill of over yardage props on receiving yardage for running backs here tonight. So I think it's interesting, but we'll get to the Plums play of the night here in a little bit. I got a few more questions rolling around here. Let me get you a little question here real quick from Mr. Gerg. How much Gibson and Davis at the men's salary on DK is too much to fit all the studs?
I think like the $200 plays on DK are a little bit better than we usually see. Like a lot of times you don't have someone who's like plausibly going to get a point, you know, or if they did, it's going to be a shocker. Like Davis and Gibson, I think, are actually two pretty decent plays. I mean, they still might both get blanked. But I think like 20% is okay. I might even end up with a little bit more of Gibson now that Cobb is out. But you know, again, you should be making those plays understanding you could get 2 zeros. So, but for large field, I think it's fine.
Mr. Gerg hits us with pancakes are gross. They're like soggy bread. No, you're just not having the best. You're just not having the best pancakes, brother. You need some good pancakes, and then you just douse them in that good sugar water called syrup. Man, yeah. Just so good. All right, you know what? If you got to edit some lineups, now would be the time, Squirrel, because I'm going to hit them with the little promo read. We call it a little promo read. We call that a promo read in the business. All right. I'm supposed to talk about sim labs now. All right, let me talk about some sim labs here. We just dropped the beta version of NFL lineup building tool Sims Lab. You can try it for free. It's not going to last forever. At some point, it's going to go under a premium tag, and you're not going to be able to get it for free. So try it for free. It's a brand new product that generates DFS lineups through the power of simulation. It combines data from every aspect of the slate to churn out lineups that match your preferences. In just a few clicks, you can build hundreds of well-built lineups, correlated lineups, ready to go for whatever contest type you're playing. We're going to drop a link here, and that can be what you can check out and see if it's anything that fancies you. Just like anything else, DFS related, it takes good numbers into it. To make it worthwhile. You got to have good projection numbers. They got to be fairly decent. You got to have good ownership numbers. That's got to be fairly decent. And the sims got to be, set up the right way. We're working on that 100%. We're working on getting that 100%, but that's why it's beta right now, so we can test through it and figure it out. It's just a good GPP tool. It's something different. You can always still use the lineup HQ. I just think there's different methods, and every slate might be different, and who knows what pops here or there. On a slate where you're paying for the blitz, and the blitz is spot on with those projections, you probably have a better chance in the lineup HQ, going by some of those more optimal lineups and doing things like that. And I've seen that happen. But then if there's weeks where the projections break down a little bit, they're not as good. A sim will get on that and do things good things for you. So every slate's different. I think they're all good tools. I don't know about you, Squirrel. How do you treat the sims? Or are you already a sims bro?
No, this is my first night using the SimLabs tool, and so I'm using it for like that 20 entry max contest. Like I think this is like perfect and like so slick for Showdown, because like that's really a contest where you want to be thinking about like correlation and ownership, and I think it's like the perfect kind of contest for this tool. Like if you think about like NBA. Like you're not like worried about duplication with 12 games on the slate or whatever. Correlation not as much of a factor. Like there isn't like correlation between NBA players like there is like a quarterback on his wide receiver, or, something like that, or negative correlation like the quarterback and the defense. And you're not like worried about the duplication. But like Showdown, you're worried about duplication. You're worried about ownership. You're worried about correlation. It's like this is perfect tool, perfect kind of contest for for that tool. So yeah, using it for the 20 entry max tonight, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, get back to us with those results. It's just so peculiar sometimes when what you're running now, the Sims, like one setting you go instead of medium, you go low on the setting, and it goes from like maybe you would have lost money to maybe you tie for first place or something. Like they're so everything's just so random sometimes in DFS. But yeah, every little edge you can get helps. All right, we got some questions. First off, Robbie 0023 congratulates Squirrel on the final spot in King of the Beach. Squirrel, you wrapping up some more live final stuff here that you're not telling me about?
I did. I haven't really been going for the DK qualifiers that much, but I went for King of the Beach. Ended up with one. And like I kind of, I entered a bunch of qualifiers. Ended up with one seat. Like I wasn't even on my radar that the qualifiers had stopped going, and like this was the first week, right? Like the play-in week. But set my lineup and ended up. I was looking really good, in the fourth quarter of the last game. I thought, I think I'm like 60th out of 75. I don't think 15 people are going to pass me. Then Dallas got the ball back in that last game, and I just needed CeeDee Lamb not to be getting the last catches, and he did. And I dropped to like 78, and I was like, well, that's it. But I guess they gave him a fumble for that last play, that last catch. So I went to 78th. They gave him the fumble. Went back up to 75th about 15 minutes later. Oh wow, like that never works in my favor. The stack correction, I've never had kind of jumped up with the stack correction before. So it was kind of cool to see. For a live final. Hopefully I can make it. Like the King of the Beach is a tough, quick turnaround. So hopefully I'm down there in Miami.
See, sometimes you just the randomness and then the variance. It's on your side. At first and goal from the 6-yard line with probably 3 to 4 good plays left for Dallas, you're probably just like, oh, I'm done. I'm cooked. There's no way. Like somebody's Prescott's going to throw or run for a touchdown. I don't know what that does to me. Who's he going to hit for the touchdown? I'm cooked. There's no way Philly keeping him out of the end zone. Philly kept him out of the end zone and, even not forced a fumble. CD kind of just chunked it up there at the end, but yeah, it happens, man. That's good stuff. All right, let's do FanDuel real quick for Big Hurt. 2 categories here on FanDuel: single entry MVP and large field MVP on FanDuel. What's your preference there? Who's your favorites?
See, I think for single entry, I kind of like Zach Wilson, because you're getting a home quarterback against the worst pass defense in the league. Probably at not that high ownership. It's an interesting FanDuel slate because a lot of times FanDuel MVP is like, well, it's going to be this guy, right? Like it's going to be Patrick Mahomes. If it's not Mahomes, it's probably Kelsey, and that's it. This one, I don't know. Like there's a bunch of different directions. Like, is it a Justin Herbert game? Is it an Oster Eckler game? I like the Jets tonight. Does that mean Zach Wilson? Does it mean Garrett Wilson? Does it mean Brees Hall? Single entry, I'd probably take the safety of the higher projected quarterback. I think large field, maybe Garrett Wilson. Maybe Garrett Wilson is getting 2 long touchdowns tonight, and that puts him in the MVP spot. I think any of these top 6 guys could be the highest raw points person on the slate, and we don't usually have slates like that.
Big Hurt, I would throw my opinion and say single entry. I'd go Brees Hall because probably 3rd or 4th most owned guy. That's not bad for single entry. Large field, I agree with the Garrett Wilson call. He's not going to be very owned in the captain's or the MVP spot on FanDuel, and he's just good. He has a chance to gather some touchdowns in the air. Who else are they going to throw? If Zach Wilson were to throw touchdowns tonight, I got to bet that Garrett Wilson's going to be on the receiving end of most of them. He's the best thing they got. So we got that for you, Big Hurt. Let's go on to Barry Pullman, DKGPP, Austin Eckler or Garrett Wilson at captain if you're playing the other in flex. You're playing the other in flex, so which one you want to flip-flop? Eckler, Garrett Wilson, captain, flex. Which one goes where?
I'd probably do Garrett Wilson because you're getting the savings there. I just think Austin Eckler is a little bit too Austin Eckler should not be the highest price guy on the slate. I put him as the person I was going to be most under the field on DK because like you need salary on DraftKings, and especially from the, if you're putting the most expensive guy in the slate in there at the captain spot, like you are pretty limited. So I prefer Garrett Wilson. Like I said, I'm high on the Jets tonight, just relative to ownership maybe. So if you want to put Austin Eckler in there, that's okay. I just think you're going to be a little bit you're going to be scrounging for money for those last couple of spots.
Well, with that thought in mind, Chris Alexander wants to just ask our best cash DK captain. So we're in DK. We're playing a cash game on a showdown tonight. 1v1, or you just got to beat half the field. Who's your favorite cash captain?
Probably Justin Herbert. I think you'd go Justin Herbert. I mean, they are the favored team. Like I kind of like the Jets as a contrarian play for tournaments. Like I think the Jets will be under-owned. Like that's not so much of a concern with cash. I think probably Keenan Allen or Justin Herbert, I think is probably where you want to go. Maybe I prefer Justin Herbert to rather go with the quarterback than the wide receiver.
I would agree. Yeah, in cash, man. Listen, we're not in cash. Any slate, we are not worried about ownership. Like we don't care, right? And Herbert is only 200 more than Keenan Allen on DraftKings, and he's cheaper than Austin Eckler. They're just, you could run this game 100 times in real life, and Justin Herbert's not going to finish third out of those guys most of the time. Most of the time, he's going to be the catalyst in the offense. There's going to be some days where Eckler is the guy. Keenan Allen just is very rarely going to outscore his own quarterback. So I think Justin Herbert's the cash guy for sure. All right, let's see where are we at. Oh, best play under $1,000. Third Fret Capo best. I guess I got that right. Best play under $1,000 here. What do we got here? There's a couple guys, I guess, right?
Yeah, I think it's Darius Davis. I think he's going to see pretty decent ownership for like a minimum price guy. I'm having a hard time deciding between Darius Davis and Xavier Gibson. If I'm going with like a more Chargers lineup, then I want Darius Davis. If I'm going more Jets, then I'm going Xavier Gibson. Again, both those guys could get zeros. But I think there's a pretty good. They have a better chance than the usual $200 guy, I think, of ending up on the winning lineup.
The only other name I would throw there is Simi Feheko. We're missing a couple receivers for the Chargers. We don't know really how that's going to play out. Maybe it's Quentin Johnson, but maybe it's not. Maybe he's just not that good. He's a rookie, and we just don't know. So, this guy did get a couple targets last week. Under $1,000, you just never know. So I'll just throw the name out there. But speaking of our boy Quentin Johnson, Allen asks, Parham or Quentin Johnson, DK single entry.
I'd go Johnston. He's their highly drafted rookie. Like you would expect him to be doing better as the season goes along. So maybe this is the week that he breaks out, or maybe he doesn't break out. Maybe he's one of those, first round wide receivers.
Just busto, man.
Yeah. But like if he is gonna break out, you'd expect it to be around now in the season. So not that I'm looking to pick on the Jets defense, but like there's only 2 teams a week, so we gotta pick somebody on offense. So I'd go with Quentin Johnson there.
Yeah, let me answer Brent Patterson's question real quick. Is NBA gonna be on SimLabs eventually? Yes, eventually it will be. The DraftKings only stuff right now is to iron out some kinks, work through some things. As soon as it's ready and it's an acceptable product in the eyes of RotoGrinders and the guys behind it, it will be out for FanDuel, and it'll be out for basketball, and we'll see where it takes us. But it will definitely eventually evolve to NBA at some point this year. So stay tuned for that, Brent. God's Devil Dog asks, Zerline or Quentin Johnson is best under 10K on FanDuel, either Zerline or Quentin Johnson. I mean, that's for upside. You want the wide receiver there. If you want safety and you're in the cash, I would understand taking Zerline. So I guess I would say GPPs, Johnson for cash. Zerline's probably safer, but just a little bit more of a lack of upside. Although, who knows? The kickers could go. I rostered Harrison Butker in my season long a few weeks ago, and the guy busted like 7 field goals. So who knows, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think the answer to that question really is like what kind of contest are you playing? Like how large is the field? Like if you envision these guys as having like point distribution curves, right? Like the curve for Zerline is gonna be kind of narrow. Whereas the curve for Quentin Johnson is gonna be like very spread out, right? Like he could much more likely to get 0 or get 1. But more likely to get like 15. So yeah, I'd go Quentin Johnston. If it's like a larger field tournament, like definitely Quentin Johnston. Smaller field, catch game, kind of multiple quintuple up or whatever, I'd go with Zerline.
All right. We got some more questions. I got them noted, and will answer them. But before we do, we got about 7 minutes left. I don't want to leave y'all hanging with the Plums play of the night so you can alter your line. I know everybody's waiting on this info from a squirrel so they can go alter their lineups last minute, but I'm gonna let you kick us off here. Feel it in your Plums play of the night. Go for it.
Yeah, it's Garrett Wilson. Worst pass defense in the league. I've been talking up Zach Wilson a little bit, but I think it's really all about Garrett Wilson as the primary wide receiver. So I put an expert survey. My hot take was a career high in yardage for Garrett Wilson tonight. Standing by that. So that's my feeling it in the Plums play of the night.
That's a good one. I did a video earlier and it featured Brees Hall, and I know our boy Jenkins says he likes Brees Hall too. I don't want to give out the same info, man, but it's hard for me to get away from Brees Hall tonight. So yeah, I'm gonna go Brees Hall. But I'll say it. I'm gonna steal one of your lines that you just said, which is you just said your boy. You think he's the leading receiver tonight for the Jets, Garrett Wilson. I think Brees Hall is going to be the leading receiver for the Jets tonight. I think he's going to catch a lot. San Diego or LA is giving up a lot out of the backfield, like 6.5 receptions a game, whole bunch of yards to running backs. It's the type of defense they play. This guy's explosive. We just saw him take a pass for like 80 yards to the house a week or two ago. I like him. I think he's going to get it done out of the backfield. I could probably say the same thing about Eckler on the other side, but I'll go Brees Hall here, cheaper salary. It's my Plums play of the night. All right, let's get to some more questions. Mr. Brian Marshall says DKGPP favorite flex, Zach Wilson or Garrett Wilson with Eckler as the captain here.
I'd probably go Garrett Wilson. That's clearly a close one. You're kind of talking about the same game scripts there. I'd maybe go Garrett Wilson, just thinking that maybe he piles up some receptions. But it's a tough call.
Robbie, what do we think about Tyler Conklin tonight?
I think he's in play. I think that's fine. He's the tight end in Showdown. He could get there. Probably needs a touchdown, but he's a decent receiving tight end. So no reason not to play him if that's how much salary you've got
left. We have some little bit of conversation. Is anybody else impressed by CJ Stroud? I'll tell you what. Speaking of rook, we talk about Quentin Johnson, and we don't know what he's going to be, and he's a rookie. And some rookies, you just see it, and man, it's quite obvious. This guy's got it. CJ Stroud's got it right. He's the real deal at quarterback. You can go back in hindsight and say, well, why wouldn't he be taken first? He's physically, he fits the mold of a quarter. He's big, he's strong, great arm, accurate, put up numbers. Why wouldn't they take him number one? Overall, who knows? In hindsight, it's tough. 2020, hindsight's 20. But he looks the part right now, right? He looks like that was a very, very well-spent draft pick. And here's my question, though. They did mess that up, though, when they gave up this year's draft pick to come up to the third spot right after that and grab a defensive end. Now, granted, they're performing really well. That pick might not be that great, but I don't think you give away next year's draft pick and the extra equity they gave around just to move up to number 3 to draft Will Anderson. But that's a whole different story. But the CJ Stroud's a home run. You have to have a quarterback in this league, and they got one for about the next 7 to 10 years.
Yeah, I was wondering how much thought goes into those draft day trade ups, right? It's almost like the kid at the grocery store aisle. It's like, I want the candy, right? it's like an impulse buy or something. It's like, oh, we got this guy. We want this guy too. Let's just trade up.
I mean, I don't like. I understand if it's like somewhat. If you're giving away just a little bit more equity, sure. I really like this guy. Let's a little bit more. But man, you gave up a whole bunch of extra draft equity just to move up. Like I don't know if I get all that right, but it is what it is. All right, I think we've answered all the questions that are on the board right now, and we got about 2.5 minutes left. So Squirrel, I'm gonna turn it over to you to give your final thoughts here before we sign off out of here.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I have like complicated thoughts on the slate. This time it really is just I think that people are underrating the Jets. They're their home team. Chargers defense has been terrible. I like the idea, especially in DFS, of like going overweight the Jets and just especially in the larger field contests, Monday Night Football. So don't be afraid of the Zach Wilson. Like if he's ever going to look good, so like 24-year-old former number 2 pick in the draft. Like if he's going to look good, it's going to be tonight. So don't shy away from Zach Wilson. Like Garrett Wilson maybe as the main primary wide receiver. Brees Hall is looking great. Go Jets.
Tell you what, we will never mistaken Zach Wilson for C.J. Stroud. That's not going to happen. But this is his night to finally prove something. Maybe he's getting better as he gets older. It's okay. It happens. That's what you need. Sometimes you just need to be in the league for a few years and figure it out. We'll see how he plays tonight, guys. We appreciate you tuning in. We'll be back again for each and every one of these games. There's a different combination in this booth answering those questions. So we appreciate it. Now we can go off. We can watch a little football tonight. And don't forget, you got a little college basketball starting. So I'm looking forward to watching a little bit of that. Good luck in all those GPPs, whether you're in the lineup HQ or you're a Sims bro. Good luck, man. And we will catch you on Thursday. But for now, we are out of here.